called Stick It Out. Season 3.
Hello, everyone, and welcome, a somewhat sad welcome, to the last episode of Stick It Out Season 3. I know you have loved every second of the past million episodes we've done of this series, but it is coming to a close with this one. We have two songs each to talk about this time. These are two songs that we've listened to over and over again for the past 2 weeks. See if our opinions changed at all on them. So, Rob, take it away. What two songs did you have, and what did you think then? What do you think now?
Yeah, I had Bravest Face, which was the original tune, and the pick that I got from our dear friend Paul right there was Armor and Sword, because we were kind of trying to figure out like what would be the kind of song, and that was the one for me. So I had an easy time because I had my fancy Rush shirt and my Snakes and Arrows documentary, and got to watch that again in addition to listening to the CD. I have one copy in my car, I have one copy in the house. So I feel like I had an easier time going through these songs. Excuse me. And so Bravest Face was the one I was surprised about. I was kind of, I guess, a little bit apprehensive because I just felt like I wasn't really that into the tune. But I like the different moods that are on the song, the way the instrumentation sets it up, with the acoustic guitars, for the verses, and then the build into the choruses. And then just the overall message again, like the other picks that I had, was something that I kept the lyrics close by and really listened to the tune with the lyrics. I watched, Snakes and Arrows live, so a lot of input coming in from this album. So it really kind of got me reinvigorated to hear the album again and to really dive deeper into the song rather than just hearing it at face value. No pun intended. So I just like that idea of how soft it gets when it's more introspective in terms of the music on A Bravest Face, and then the idea of going out into the world and with your bravest face, and then the potency behind that message musically was like a nice match. So I think just as a whole record, and the same thing applied to Armor and Sword, where the music was really kind of connecting the lyrical content in such a strong positive way that it just kind of reaffirmed the message for me of what Neil was trying to get at, and it really kind of drove it home a bit more than just a casual listen, So I'm very happy I did a deeper listen rather than just doing it, as like a side thing, or it's in the background or whatever, and just sitting my butt down and listening to the song like I used to do in the old days. And I got to put the headphones on, I got to listen to this thing, and just the whole of the two songs, the potency behind it. I keep saying potency because I feel it's very apropos of a term for these songs that I was missing out. I don't know why I missed out. I saw this tour live. I don't know. I don't know what my hiccup was on these things, but I'm glad I really got to sit and just drink it in. So I feel much better about these two songs, even though Armor and Sword was the pick that was like, and Bravest Face was the one that was like, okay, I'm not really too fond of this tune, but having those 2 weeks and those listens through really gave me a much tighter appreciation, and also watching the process of making the album with the documentary, and which I got with the T-shirt. I think Rush backstage had the promo. If you got the shirt, you got this DVD of the documentary of making the record. So all those things together, long story long, really gave me a higher appreciation for the song. So that is my report. I had a great time, and I'm very happy that I did the full, due diligence on these songs. And there you go.
Well, thank you for starting us off on a positive note. It is a great start to this last episode. Tal, what do you got for us?
Okay, so I had We Hold On from Snakes and Arrows again, and here again from the debut. So two very, very different points in their career. Let's start with We Hold On. So this song I knew fairly well before going in, because I mentioned I've listened to it a few times. But like I said, the thing that was turning me off was it just did not sound like a conventional Rush song, at least the Rush that I am in love with. Kind of country, folk-like, very heavy, not an ounce of synthesizer. It's okay. It was the direction the band was going at the time. After 21 listens, I believe, 21, I still think it's weird. It's still pretty weird. But enjoyable. I'll admit that. I like the lyrics a lot. I think they're relatable because they sort of like it sort of reminds you that everyone kind of goes through these kinds of things. Everyone goes through moments in life where you just want to give up, you just want to take your foot off the gas, and you just want to sleep, you want to rest, you want to take coffee breaks, like Neil mentions here. But yeah, we could be down and gone, but we hold on. It's kind of motivating. It's a way, it's nice motivating lyrics, but in a way that it's like not telling you to go do anything crazy. It's okay. A lot of times you're gonna go through shitty times in life. It might be boring, but just hang in there because good things are coming your way. That was what I thought took away as the main message of the song, and I liked it. Neil obviously did what he did best, and drumming, of course. The drumming for this song, not his craziest, but obviously still being Neil. Threw in some great beats in there, some hi-hat and some ride and X-hat beats where he goes back and forth. He also does this on Far Cry. It's cool. It's fun. Getty's vocals are good. Alex's guitar playing is okay. It's all great. I think the ending of this song really hits hard. It's very heavy in a good way, and triumphant and powerful. And Getty has some amazing sustained A4s. Let's see if I can do it right now. Way to get me through the day.
Oh.
It's a fun one. So when I was listening to this, I was like, "Yeah, you go, Getty." So it got me enjoying it by the end. I think it's kind of slow at first, but then I like a lot of Rush song endings, and this one's no exception. It's fun. It's good, and then it's got a cool drum fill at the end. And that's what ends the album. So it's a very, very tight way to end the album. So I'll save more for my total review in the end, but overall, solid tune. Here again. Okay, so this song is, as we know, a lot more youthful. It's basically it sounds like a different band is playing. It's not, well, it kind of is because it's not the same drummer. There were two things I wanted to say about Here Again. First of all, while I liked the instrumentation, the chord progressions, the guitar solo is phenomenal. Yes. But the one thing that I was wondering, why the hell is it 7.5 minutes? Why?
Because it's the blues.
The first 4 minutes of this song is maybe the most redundant music I've ever heard in my life. There is not a single ounce of building or anything or progress, It's just like it's the exact same chord progression all the way through. It's fine, but I think I kind of said this with the Necromancer. I think this song easily could have done what it was meant to do if they cut it in half. Easily. After the 4-minute mark, when Rutsy changed to the hi-hat groove, and then say, I said, will it ever change? Will it stay the same? Then I think the song starts to get good and fun because it's a little bit heavier now. Alex rips through those chords. But I feel like whenever I'm listening to the first part, I'm always waiting for that big change. And then the extended guitar solo is, of course, phenomenal. Some of Alex's best work in the 70s, I'd say. It's just killer. Not a bunch of random notes, definitely thoughtfully composed out. And even if some parts were improvised, really, really fits the song. Got some groovy bass lines in the back there. It looks like I only have about a minute or two left. So I want to say one more thing. When I first listened to the studio version, I really want to complain about Rutsy's elementary drumming because he doesn't really play anything different. There's no variation. It's just that same hi-hat groove. And then after 4 minutes, the same ride groove with a few triplet fills in there. Okay, great. I know this is not Neil. I know this is the original Rush, but I really wanted to hear some more intricate drumming. That's what I thought, at least. Eric, I took your suggestion and listened to Agora Ballroom. Neil played on Agora Ballroom. And I was very surprised to find out that I actually preferred Rutsy's drumming on this song. I think when Neil introduced those 8-note triplets, he does that in the beginning. I don't really think it fits. I think this song actually works better with that really, really simple drumming, because the drums aren't really the main focus of this song. This is definitely Alex's moment to shine, you know? And I guess Getty's vocals. So I guess once Neil joined the band and they wrote songs with him, his like ever so changing drum parts and innovative grooves sort of fit better. But when he's covering Rutsy's stuff, I don't necessarily think the extra flurries are quite as like fitting. That's what I came up with. So I actually preferred the studio version. I also thought it was a little tighter tempo wise, as they did it in the 70s. All that kind of fluctuated tempo, and I just doesn't sound as clean to me that way. But I guess like I said, I'll summarize more in my big review at the end. But here again is, it's here. It's in Rush's catalog. Am I ever going to listen to it voluntarily again? Probably not. But it's pretty good. So that's pretty much what I have to say about these two songs. I'll say more later.
I'm glad you at least listened to the Agora Ballroom, because I adore that performance. But you know what? Fascinating to hear that the drummer likes the Rutsy version more. That's very interesting. Paul, what do you got for us?
All right. So my last assigned song was I want to talk. I signed them all. Was 2112. All 7 parts, 20 times in a 2-week period.
That's like at least 20 minutes worth of listening.
That's not counting the second song I was dumb enough to assign myself. So, 2112. Disclaimer. Thank you very much to previous roundtables, because that helped me a lot. The best way I can put it is, obviously, I came into this late in the game, and I understand why people love it so much. I will not be able to understand why people some people say that it's the pinnacle, especially with moving pictures and permanent waves. But me loving the 80s forward, I respect the song as in all its parts as the building blocks to get us where we ended up. Absolutely. It was interesting to see. I was reminded of the fact that Mozart died at 35. He wrote his first music around age 4 or 5. That's debated. This would be like listening to a 7 or 8-year-old Mozart. In other words, definitely something there. I understand how it launched so many ships. That being said, it took and thank you, Jesse Stickets, for the 97 remaster of all 7 parts from the Toronto show. Live version definitely helped me, but I appreciate it for what it is. I respect its place in history, but I think I'm probably too late for the train to actively seek it out. Since it is the building blocks of, you've got your epic. Well, it is an epic, but you've got your epic parts. You've got your mellow parts. You've got your metal parts. I respect it. I saw all those. I couldn't get that passionate for it, but I think that's really because I love so many things about the tighter, more mature sound and more mature songwriting. So I'm not the right audience for it. That being said, do I think it's bad? Absolutely not. I think it's a work of genius, an early work of genius. So will I put it on again? Studio wise, I wouldn't shut it off if I had to reach over really far, but I prefer the live version too. And then Necromancer. So Necromancer, interesting. I actually enjoyed it more, which may be heresy to some people. Matter of fact, it's gotten me interested in grabbing Caress of Steel on my own time and seriously digging into it now. And I just enjoyed it more. Shorter, and granted, still at 11 minutes, I think.
12 and a half.
Again, thanks to the roundtable, because I was trying to put things into words, and between Nick Howley and Tim Derling, they nailed everything I would have said. So you guys can thank them for me being brief here too. First part reminds me a lot of Floyd, And I like that. It's that bluesy. You can hear their influences, all three of them, Neil, Getty, and Alex. You can hear their influences in their writing and in their playing. And I like that. It's more basic than 2112, but it was easily digestible for me. Especially first time listening and first time really like caring. Middle part reminds me of songs that would eventually become YYZ or La Villa or whatever. Just you can hear those building blocks. It was really interesting to me. Return of the Prince, third part. Tim Derling had pointed out on the roundtable that was the record company released just that as a single, not the whole song, just that. I can see why they did it. It's got a hook and it's catchy, and that's actually why I chose it for my bonus song. So it is very disjointed. It is very, it's three completely different compositions, which is jarring. So I'm not gonna sit here and go, it was the best. No, it was a chore to listen to three different things and go, okay, this is meant to be one song. So it was nice to see the evolution from that into 2112, where it is very cohesive and all the pieces fit together very well and all that. So it was a good history lesson this week for me. So
Really
That's what
interesting.
The history lesson. Okay. So would you say you liked Necromancer?
I like Necromancer. I respect 2112. So
It's really neat what you just said, because I always viewed the Necromancer and the Fountain of Lamneth as just screaming yes to me, like the band Yes. That's what
Yeah.
I always heard in like the sort of bits of the song that don't sound like they go together, but they're all part of the one song, and then you get to the end, you're like, oh, I get it. And there's a lot of bits that are like really like in your face all over the place, and that screams parts of like close to the
second and
edge to
third
me.
parts, I agree completely. First part was very bluesy, not
and
so much.
When you said Pink Floyd for that first bit, I never thought of it. It hits the nail on the head for that first bit of Necromancer. Yeah, for sure. But I had for my last song Something for Nothing. This is a song I've listened to. It's a fairly popular song, so I know it fairly well. I just kind of dismissed it because I like just about everything else on side B of 2112 more than that. I'm one that likes side B of 2112 more than side A. Granted, the only song, right, the only song I go back to or I seek out is the Twilight Zone. I absolutely love the Twilight Zone, but I like everything about side B except for Something for Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, going back and listening to it over and over again, I started to appreciate it more for what it was, because I feel like 2112 is this grand, leap forward in what they're doing, this growth from the Fountain of Lamneth to 2112, and then a passage to Bangkok. It's a rock song, but it's different. It sounds different. The Twilight Zone is very different. Lessons is sort of folksy, and Tears is very quiet. And Something for Nothing, I feel like, was just rock. And that's why I never went back to it, because there's more songs that were just rock from Rush that I liked more. But when I started to listen to it as just a Rush song, I'm like, okay, it's good. I like it for what it is. And again, I might not go back to it like you said about 2112, the song. If it's too far away, I'm not going to bend over to turn it off. But I'm not going to seek it out either. It's fine for what it is. It's not my favorite. I don't dismiss it anymore. It's fine. My other song was Virtuality. Thank you so much to Paul. I think because you chose all four, so it was you. Nothing changed for me on this song.
You tried. You tried.
That's
fine.
And it's fine. The thing with Test for Echo is I feel like there's a lot of it that sounds the same musically. And Virtuality, I don't think is different. I think it sounds the same as a lot that comes before it and comes after it. And the lyrics take away from it, unfortunately for me. Now, I know you had said something, I think, Paul, about there's something in these lyrics that's deeper. I couldn't find it. I couldn't figure it out. What was it?
It was just the reference. You actually alluded to it, the whole net boy, net girl. I know you don't like clunky lyrics. And first time I heard it, I thought that was clunky until I realized they were referencing, and now that I don't have it handy, I can't whip it out that fast. That Neil was actually lyrically referencing a Canadian song from, oh God, sorry for whoever knows this immediately. I don't anymore. When I had the notes in front of me that week, I did dog years. I knew it then. But it is a reference to a song he liked from 10, 15 years prior. Song I'd never heard of or before. So Jet Boy, Jet Girl, someone will jump in the comments and say, how can you not? Sorry. But I just thought it was clever. Okay. So at least it fit better for me when I listened to it. And that made me like the song a little more because it no longer felt clunky to me. So that's the only thing I was pointing out there.
That's interesting because it's those kind of nuggets that do make it more interesting. What I thought it was, because I had forgotten that I think you had mentioned that it was already Net Boy, Net Girl when I said it last time, but oh well. So what I thought you were talking about was fantasy is capitalized in the lyric sheet, clinging to the wreckage of the lost ship fantasy. I'm like, what is that? That's got to be something. And I couldn't find anything about this lost ship fantasy. I'm like,
2 weeks later, I've looked everywhere.
What's the deal with this ship called Fantasy? Couldn't figure it out, so I'm like, stupid song. Paul will tell me. So there you have it. Not much changed. I will say this I'll give credit where credit's due. It's an easy song to kind of bop your head to if you're not listening to it. If it's just kind of there and you're like, okay. That's what I find myself doing, is like if it was in the background and I was doing something else, I was like, oh, I'm moving to this song? No, stop. So that's what happened to me. But we're gonna do yeah, I had to like take a shower and wash it off. But we're gonna do a quick recap, real quick. Rob, of the songs that you stuck it out with, what was your favorite?
I would say Dog Years.
Really?
I had No Great Hero, Bravest Face, Superconductor, Spindrift. Actually, it's funny because it's a tie for me between Dog Years and Spindrift. But yeah, it's hard. I guess I would say Dog Years because that's the one I really kind of poo-pooed on a bit because I thought it was hokey and just silly, So I would say I probably would champion Dog Years with a very close first place 1A Spindrift. So yeah, so I would say Dog Years.
Cool. Tal, what was your favorite?
All right, so before today, I decided to listen to all 6 of my songs in the order that I listened to them, just to avoid any recency bias, get back to them. So I listened to The Necromancer again as part of that too. So for me, as you guys probably know, my favorite was by far Vapor Trail. I think of these 6 songs, it's the only one that I can say I will actually like happily turn on and listen to myself. The rest, while still, I think I'm glad they exist, they just haven't changed my mind on like which style of the band I like the most. I'm still always forever gonna like the 80s and early to mid 90s the most. And the rest of them just strike me as I feel like a different band to me. To me, Rush peaked from Power Windows to Roll the Bones. That's like my golden era right there. And everything before and after, while still being great, will always just fall a little bit short. But Vapor Trail is outstanding. I just love what they did with all of the parts, the layering, the backing vocals, the those sort of hidden guitar solos in there. Not really a guitar solo, but like kind of a guitar solo. The drum break, it's killer. So if I were to do, do I have time to quickly rate them all out of 10?
Yeah, go quick.
All right. So we're applicable. I'll also say what I rated out of 10 before the Stick It Outs, but most of these songs I didn't even know. Vapor Trail, we're going to go 8.1 out of 10. I think it's an awesome, awesome song. Really great. The Necromancer, let's give it a 4. Because while I appreciate how it was getting Rush closer to sort of their beliefs and their like what they thought was the true to themselves, sorry, doesn't grab me. Making Memories, I said 6.5. And I think that's still true. It's just a good old rockin' fun little short, which I appreciate. Early Rush song, nothing against that. Driven, I was surprised when I put on Driven this morning. I thought that middle section was really, really fun. And I think for that alone, I'll actually rate it above my 5.8 for what I said 2 weeks ago. I'm gonna say now I went from a 4 out of 10 to a 6, maybe a 6.3. That middle section is really, really fun. And it really like gets my heart pumping, like, yeah. Da, 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 da. So that's pretty killer. Okay, now my two new songs. We hold on. Before I start my listens, I'd probably say it was also a 4, like Driven. Now let's go 4.5. I'm gonna be honest, not much has changed. And here again, maybe like a 5. It's good. I like the musicianship. I like what they've done with it. It's just way too long for my tastes. If they want to make it 7.5 minutes, make it interesting. Add some different parts. Like that's my criticism. But other than that, great song. So yes, Vapor Trail. Long story long, Vapor Trail is my winner. So congratulations, Vapor Trail. You have become possibly my favorite Rush song with no keyboards in it, and that's a big title. So
Very, very impressive. It's a great song. Paul, your favorite.
All right. My favorite actually is very, very, very easy for me to pick, and I can't be so articulate and eloquent as to rate them all by number. Xanadu by far. It's not even close. That was the most enjoyable 2 weeks out of each section we had. Didn't take much for me to get hooked, and the completionist in me between that and Sing This X1 Book One, that Farewell to Kings has opened up for me a lot. And then honorable mention, it's not the number 2 song, but giving the Necromancer a chance, I'm now more interested in Crust of Steel. So and as far as surprises, I won't say worst or negative or whatever, but surprises, I very well put. I enjoy side B of 2112 a lot. I have not given Something for Nothing or Passage of Bangkok much of a listen because I like Twilight Zone. I love Tears. I love Lessons. So maybe I'll kind of peek in on those two so I can say that I like all of side B more than all of side A and anger somebody else. But no, Xanadu was definitely the biggest improvement. As long as I can ignore the memes and ignore the background noise of people, I really enjoyed it. So, and then Dog Years, honorable mention does go to Dog Years because now I like all of Test for Echo. It does. I found its place in it, so I have an even more of appreciation for the album itself. I respect your opinion always, especially considering how much of a shot you gave it. So cool. And I love Presto. So a lot of people don't. So no problem there. But yeah, that's mine.
no mention of Natural Science at all.
Natural Science, I held back something, and there's a song on Permanent Waves that I just have never liked, and it didn't make this list. So I can't say that I love all of Permanent Waves now, but I like the fact that I really like Natural Science, and it'll get me a lot more enjoyment out of Permanent Waves. And I'm going to take that other song to my grave.
No, okay, now wait. First of all, great news about Xanadu. Love hearing that.
Yes.
Is it you like blink twice if it's Jacob's Ladder?
It's not Jacob's Ladder.
Thank God.
No.
Because listen,
And it's not Spirit before I get
I
bombarded.
think which one it is.
for the
No, I'm
longest
not.
For you, I know.
I've given you all I'm going to give.
It's not.
I'm surprised I didn't get death threats for the songs I picked for this season. So
for the longest time, my order has been The Garden, Xanadu, and Jacob's Ladder. The past few months, Jacob's Ladder is giving Xanadu a run for its money. I think it is
I will look into that.
absolute stroke of genius. I think no one has ever written a song like Jacob's Ladder before. No one will ever write a song like Jacob's Ladder again. I can't say the same about Xanadu. There's Yes songs, there's Pink Floyd songs, there's songs that have been written like Xanadu. Nobody has done anything like Jacob's Ladder, and it is insane. I'll get off my soapbox. My favorite song was Far Cry.
Yes.
Not gonna say I love it. Like none of my songs are like I'm gonna listen to it all the time now. But Far Cry is my favorite. I'd give an honorable mention to Seven Cities of Gold. It's the one that surprised me the most because that's one I did not think my opinion would change. I'd heard it so many times, but it did change significantly. But Far Cry ended up being my favorite. So there you have it. Any last thoughts, friends?
I sort of have a question for all you guys and for the viewers at home. Do you guys think that doing this, listening to us, forcing yourself to like a song by just immersing yourself like in it, like just for what feels like forever, do you think that really works? Because for me personally, I don't think it worked very much because my opinions, like of the songs I already knew, didn't really change that much. Vapor Trail, I just didn't know at all, so it was pretty much positive from the get-go. Because I think what truly works is when you have matured emotionally and maybe even physically a little bit, and you come back to something that you haven't listened to in a long time, you kind of start to hear it or appreciate it differently. And that is where I feel like the opinion changes really come. Just playing a song a bunch of times in a row, day by day by day, second by second, I don't think it does as much as people make it out to be. But I want to know what you guys think.
I think
See,
live
and it's not just rote listening to me. I like looking into the album. How does it fit in all this and what went into writing it and listening to live versions? That very much changed my mind on a couple of things. If I gave the Necromancer 20 straight listens, not learning anything about it, and then had to listen to 2112 as well, that's 32, 33 minutes of music 20 times in 2 weeks. It would not be pretty. But looking into them and then looking how to see how they fit, going it that way, I have I like a whole new era. So maybe I'm not the right crowd for this, but this is an era I never would have bothered. Well, maybe not never, but I have not in 33 years not bothered going back to, and this got me to. So I'll respectfully disagree.
Yeah, I would say too that, that's how I heard music when I was growing up. I had my headphones, my Walkman, throw newspapers for a job, but just slowing yourself down enough to throw on your headphones and just listen, and just to have that time for yourself, your you time or me time, whatever, is such a lost thing. It's like because we're moving, we're shaking, we're doing all this stuff. So when you actually sit down and force yourself to hear something, you get that new appreciation. And life's not too bad when you can do that. It's actually pretty nice. It's like, wow, used to do this all the time. I had the album open, I had the lyrics, I'm looking at the pictures, I'm looking at reading, I'm seeing who produced the record and where it was recorded, and all this stuff was flooding in. It was a whole experience. So I think having done that for myself, speaking for myself, was like it's very nostalgic because that's how I really grew to love this band. That appreciation was like so strong because I did that. I went through that whole process. It was awesome. So I think it's differs it's different for each person. Each person has a different experience and time frame to do that. So I think that's how I got so strongly into this record again, Snakes and Arrows. It's like because I did that time. I put that time in. It was fabulous. So that's my 2 cents.
Ask my kid what kind of homework he prefers, math or listening to Rush.
Yeah, I'll go with Rush. Every day I'll go with that. Yep.
That's really cool.
It was never a punishment.
No.
I guess I just picked songs that are way out of my music taste, but that was for a reason,
Right. That's what's great about this whole thing. It's like you get that new love, So.
And it did work a little bit.
And there's a chance that down the road there's another song that you didn't pick out that it's like, oh, I'm gonna listen to that again, and then you're like, oh, listen to it again, and it just kind of happens by accident. That's what I found with me, because with the 6 songs I listened to, none of them were drastic improvements. There were some that improved a little bit, but it's happened several times with many different Rush songs, and I've sort of learned this through this series is that I'm a music first person and then lyrics after.
Me too.
Several times throughout listening to Rush songs, a song will come on shuffle and lyrics will come through and it's like, oh, that really relates to me, or that really impacts something that's going on in my life. I'm gonna listen to that again. And so now there's probably 10 or 12 Rush songs that I can pinpoint an exact moment in my life of why I like that song. And it stayed in my favorites rotation because of that, because of the lyrics. So I think sometimes it just happens on accident, that kind of thing where it's like, oh, I get it. Maybe it's tough to do when you pick out 5 songs that you might not like at first, but obviously for Rob and Paul, it worked a little bit different than it did for us too. So it's just kind of luck of the draw, I guess you could say. So there you have it. That's Stick It Out Season 3. I'm sure we'll be doing another round of these eventually sometime with 4 new, funnier looking panelists than us 4, because we're all very handsome. And who wants to bring us out this time?
Why don't we all take turns and we all say one sentence?
That'll go well.
So leave a like.
Comment and subscribe.
Buy merchandise so we can get some Sharpies.
And leave a comment telling us what you thought about this whole series, what you thought of us goofy dudes. If you had a good time watching us, if you had as much fun as we did, just talking here, because as you can tell, I think we grew some chemistry here just in these 6 episodes. It was a lot of fun.
Chemistry.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
To me, it's chemistry. Wait, I gotta do one more before we end. Well, I was only a kid to know not to be afraid.
Wonderful. We'll see you next time, folks, on some future Rush Fans episode. Till then, see you later.
Bye, everybody.